Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Super Mario Galaxy Part 21. Fellas, in the last episode, we were working on Seaslide Galaxy, a very good galaxy in this game, by the way. I just want to say that. We actually did 3 stars that were technically already done, but we did for the sake of this Let's Play, because I had done stuff on the failed recording yesterday. If you guys were here for the last episode, you already heard about that. But we struggled on this star for a fair bit, and then ended up kind of pivoting, right? We ended up kind of pivoting to the secret star of Seaslide Galaxy. Today we're actually going to do the silver stars of Seaslide, and fellas, I know what I'm doing this time. So honestly, if you're worried, you shouldn't be, okay? Just trust the process, it will be okay. But fellas, in the last episode, something that I spent a little bit of time talking about was actually the Mario Kart World Nintendo Direct that happened yesterday. I talked a little bit about the fact that overall there might be a bit of a negative reception surrounding it, but for someone like myself who is not really, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that I like the price point, because I don't, of Mario Kart World, but for the people who are a little more focused around the the price point and trying to see if there was going to be a justification, that Nintendo Direct didn't exactly provide that, right? We kind of talked about that a little bit, but I talked about a couple things from that Direct that I really, really enjoyed, that were newly revealed. Something that I wanted to talk about, but I didn't get around to talking about in the last episode, was what they talked about regarding versus mode, because something that I mentioned was very much looking like was going to be a thing in terms of how track selection was going to work in Mario Kart World, was that you would basically have the option when choosing a track, whether it was in online with your friends or if it was, say for instance, like if it was in versus mode, right? The way that it was going to work was that theoretically, you were going to be able to essentially, you have the option to do a race like a standard 3-lap track. They have confirmed that. So for all the people that are thinking that these open world intermission routes are required, they are not. Which I was 100% positive that they were not going to be required, because something you have to immediately realize, right? Something you have to immediately realize is, if they were going to require that, that was going to, I think, result in some pretty serious changes that happened to the existence of time trials. Because time trials, I mean, I think in every Mario Kart game are just inevitable at this point. I don't think time trials have ever skipped out on a Mario Kart game. Maybe the arcade GP games, but I have no clue if they did actually skip out on those. I'm not really 100% sure if they did, but they might have. But yeah, so what we had seen from a small teaser from Game Chat for the silly little Game Chat feature on the Switch too, was that, you would be able to choose from 3 laps like any normal track, but you could also, okay, and this is the key word, you could also select the option to do an intermission type course of, maybe say you start off with Choco Mountain, right? But you could have the option to start at Choco Mountain, then maybe go to like Wario Stadium, N64 Wario Stadium or something. And the way that from my understanding that it looked like that it worked, was that basically the intermission tracks that you would be able to choose, you were not specifically locked to any intermission route that was involved in the Grand Prix that said track was associated with. You could also do an intermission track that is just any track surrounding it. Any track that is sort of surrounding the track that you chose, you could go to as an intermission, which I think is already super cool. Again, that's like, it seems like with the spacing, that would mean that theoretically you have about 6 different options or so of, routes you could do, which I know a lot of people are going to sit here and they have complaints that in some ways I don't think are entirely invalid, but there are some complaints that I've seen that are in regards to the fact that, like, oh, there's only 32 tracks in this game again? We're going back to 32 tracks for an $80 game? Yeah. it's obviously, I think, what I think is happening is that while on the surface 32 tracks may sound weird, I think in Nintendo's mind, I think that these intermission races that you can do are kind of like their own tracks in a weird way, because they are taking you through exploring parts of this open world. And I think the weird thing is that not everyone's going to be open to that idea, okay? Not everyone's going to be open to the concept of accepting those like their tracks. You know, they don't have names to them. It's just kind of like you're going off a feeling. It's like, oh, dude, if I wanted to go from, what was that one track? Starview Peak to Sky High Sunday. Oh, yeah, it's a very ice-themed, thing. You have to go off of theme specifically, and I personally really like it. I don't think everyone's going to like it. But I also think at the same time, what's really, really nice is that I think a lot of people got worried at how much Nintendo was pushing the idea of this game being very open world, which is why I think a lot of people were worried, like, are we getting rid of the 3-lap system for going to tracks, right? Is that just a thing we're getting rid of? And it appears as if that's not the case. Like, literally, if you want to, outside of maybe Grand Prix mode, where it seems like Grand Prix, they're really pushing for the intermissions, which I think is fine. I think most people who really, really play Mario Kart, they run through the Grand Prix, maybe a handful of times. Maybe they run through them on each CC, or maybe they just choose a CC they like, run through each cup for the first time, and then you never really touch Grand Prix again. Now, I personally am someone who, in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I've been trying to get 3 stars on all cups on 200cc. That's what I've been trying to do currently, and that's been really fun for me. Speaking of which, we haven't seen any mention of 200cc yet, and what I will say about it is that I think it is definitely, in my opinion, something that I would love to see. I think 200cc would honestly work even better in Mario Kart World than in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Because in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, there's the argument that brake drifting is always just this huge necessity, because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tracks, as well as probably any other tracks in the Mario Kart series that aren't Mario Kart World, right? They're really tight and very much, they're designed in a very specific way that, brake drifting kind of has to exist in something like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because those tracks are just so tight that, I think that not having it would just cause you to hit walls all the time on 200cc. Now, I'm not saying that can't happen in certain segments of the tracks if 200cc does end up coming to Mario Kart World, but if they want 200cc to, I think, feel like a much more fluent experience, I think these much more wide and open tracks that exist in Mario Kart World are really going to fare well for that. I don't think it will be the end of the world to me if 200cc does not come to Mario Kart World, but I can understand why to a lot of people this could potentially be a huge bummer, right? Because 200cc was a very beloved mode that existed, and for them to maybe just potentially only lock that to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, it would be a little weird in my opinion. Again, I would live, I think I've seen footage of what the game looks like at 150cc, and well, I've seen some people say, oh, it looks slower. It doesn't. I think the only reason people say it looks slower is because I think overall the tracks are a good bit longer in Mario Kart World because of the way that they're very openly designed, which I think is also a lot of the reason that people really are wanting to push for 200, because 200cc might make those intermission tracks not feel like a lot longer, right? And again, I personally do not mind if there's not 200. I think personally it would be weird to me if they got rid of it. Would be weird to me if they got rid of 200, but it's not going to be the end of the world to me if they do get rid of it, right? But so versus mode, a big thing that they showed off in versus mode that might actually exist that I didn't know existed is that in the past, what I have noticed, or what I have been led to believe, is that when it comes to when it comes to doing the intermission courses, or having the option to do intermission courses when you select a track, I have been led to believe that the only options that you will have for intermission courses are courses that are surrounding the course that you initially picked, right? I almost doomed myself there. I love Toy Time Galaxy, man. But I've been led to believe up to this point that, you know, these intermission tracks that you're going to be able to pick are only tracks that are surrounding the initial track that you chose, right? And to me, again, I think that would not be an issue. If they want to do that, I don't think there's like a big issue with that. But I couldn't help but think to myself, like, what if they just let you start at Sky High Sundae and then just go to like Mario Bros. Circuit, which I don't know if you guys have seen the map to Mario Kart World, but Sky High Sundae is kind of like on the far right of the open world. Mario Bros. Circuit is kind of to the far left, right? So I was thinking to myself and whatnot, like, what if they just let you do this long stretch race all the way across the open world? Now, would that be kind of weird? Yes, especially since, if it's knockout, sure, it would make a little more sense, but if you're just doing a standard race, to some people that's not going to be very appealing. Naturally, I think what most people are going to want to do with these intermission course options is that they're going to want to travel to courses that are close to the initial course they picked, right? And I think that's fair. But for someone like myself who really, I think, wants to get a feel of that open world, right? I would just love to have this one big, long, normal race, just standard race. It doesn't even have to be knockout, where you just travel across the whole open world from one side to another. I think that would be so interesting to me. And what was crazy was I did notice when they were showing that off briefly in the direct that, you could choose intermission tracks. What I thought there would be was that there would be a scroll bar to kind of show, like, hey, you're this far down in the scrolling sequence and whatnot. There was not that, which I don't know why, but in my brain, it feels like that's signaling that what is happening to me right now. It's signaling to me in my brain. I really wanted that coin. Can I go back? I can go back, actually. It was signaling to me that, like, oh my god, what if... Okay, hear me out. What if you could just pick any track? It kind of looked like it, man. It low-key kind of looked like you could just pick any track you wanted to drive to. And if you can do that, guys, I cannot express to you how alive this game will feel. It already feels so alive in just being able to choose to go to courses that are surrounding you, that, you're not only locked to go to an intermission route that is exclusive to Grand Prix. You're not just locked to do that. We already know that for a fact, which is already so cool to me. But the potential idea that you could drive from, like, Sky High Sundae to Mario Bros. Circuit, or, like, Wario Shipyard, all the way over to, like, DS Airship Fortress, it's just borderline insanity. That's also crazy, by the way, that works. I know they were intending for you to get up on the spring for that, but guess who didn't? I don't know if you actually... This is going to be very funny if you... Do you not need... So, not me doing this the exact way that it wasn't supposed to work. I don't know what to tell you there. That's a long star, by the way. Man, we might only get to do 3 stars this video, fellas. But yeah... It's genuinely, in my honest-to-God opinion, so cool. It would be so cool if you could just go wherever. And to add on to that, and I don't think this is... Listen, my prediction, going to keep my expectations a little low. I don't think they're going to let you do this, but I want to see the same concept translated to Knockout Tour. Okay? I want to see this same system translated to Knockout Tour. The reason I say that it probably won't happen is because of the fact that we've seen that there are these, in the similar fashion of Grand Prix, there are these predetermined Knockout Tour exclusive sort of routing areas, right? And what I'm thinking they're going to probably do is they're going to make it so that if you want to do Knockout Tour, it's like you pick a cup. You pick a cup that you want to run through, and you do that. But my kind of really big brain what if scenario, okay, if you want to hear this out, my whole, like, big brain what if scenario is, like, what if they let you choose a couple tracks that are closely interconnected together, or like a couple spots that are interconnected together, and the amount you can choose are based on the amount of races, maybe. I don't know for sure if that's how that's going to work, but they let you choose a pinpoint number of spots to kind of run through, and that's your route for Knockout Tour. So you have a customizable Knockout Tour route. To me, this would be so cool. This would go so hard. I think especially for like friend lobbies online, because I have to assume 100% Knockout Tour will be doable with friends online, right? I don't think you're going to only be locked to do Knockout Tour on, the kind of worldwide functionality of Knockout Tour. I think you're going to be able to do much more, and to me, that just sounds really exciting. I don't know, man. Like, I really, really vibe with it. I vibe with it heavy, man. And I don't think the Knockout Tour aspect of it is something I realistically expect to happen, but I do think wholeheartedly that I could see them doing something really, really fun. And okay, well, I know this is to something separate. Do I actually have enough Starbits? 50? I have approximately half of that. But I don't think them letting you make a customizable Knockout Tour route is exactly what I'm expecting to happen. But what I think I would expect to potentially happen, and I don't think it's 100% guaranteed, but again, based on what we already know of the system, I think we're already in a really cool position, so I can't complain too much. It's just like a customizable intermission route that you can do from one track to another in versus mode or maybe online in the track selection with friends. I think if they let you just go anywhere, that'd be pretty cool, but we already know that you can select tracks that are around the track that you choose. And even then, even if you just don't vibe at all, which is fair, with the whole driving through intermission things, like it's a Mount Wario track, you can just drive 3 laps around the track that you choose, like a normal Mario Kart track. And I'm really glad that Nintendo didn't force the intermission stuff too hard. I think for me personally, could I have still really, really enjoyed the game if all you could do was intermissions? Yeah, I probably still would have enjoyed it. Not as much though, because there are probably genuinely going to be some days where there are going to be some days where I just want to focus more on driving 3 laps around this new track that they've introduced. Crown City looks sick. Maybe I don't want to worry so much about driving to Crown City, but I would like to drive on Crown City. I would just like to drive on Crown City. It's a great. It looks like a downtown. Like it looks like it kind of. You know what it gives me the vibes of? That you're like driving through New Donk City in Mario Odyssey. Obviously, it's not New Donk City. I don't think you need me to tell you that. It's Crown City, but I just think that the fact that you have that flexibility to say, I want it to work like the normal Mario Kart system, or I want to explore more of the open world, let's do this intermission section, is just so cool to me for some reason. I don't know why. I really, I'm not saying 100% that Nintendo would do this, but I would not have been surprised if they would have forced you to do that intermission section. And I'm so glad that they're giving you that customizability. I've heard some people say that, yeah, maybe they'll briefly try out the intermission stuff and then they'll just go to doing 3-lap stuff as you normally would in a Mario Kart game, which I think is fine. For me, I think it's just going to be a day-by-day basis. I think, honestly, I'm always going to be interested in the open world aspect of this game, so I'm always going to be open to doing intermissions. And honestly, it may be one of the big things that I enjoy doing, but also, maybe if I'm online, maybe some of my friends are like, I really wouldn't prefer to do an intermission. Let's do a 3-lap track. Let's do a normal Mario Kart race. And I just think that's so cool. I find it very funny that I've spent this whole episode talking about one of the things from the Mario Kart World Direct, but for some reason, man, that level of customizability in the course selection is sending me, man. It is huge. It's huge to me, and I love it. Yeah, again, it feels weird being one of the overly positive people about this game in a time where I know a lot of people aren't very positive about this game, but I have so much that I'm excited for, okay? Genuinely, there's stuff that I'm not excited for. Nobody's excited about the $80 price point, but I think there's a lot of really cool things in this game that I just feel like people are glossing over or thinking that's not enough because of the $80 price tag being a thing that's taken into account, which I think is very, it's fair, but man, I just hope people can get to a point maybe where maybe more discussion is opened up about the really cool things we're seeing in this game. I don't think the discussion of the price points should stop at all, but I would love to see more positive discussion on this game as well, because the positive discussion has been really cool for this. It's been really cool. I don't want to seem like a shill, but just everything about this game seems really cool. Anyways, fellas, really long ramble. Hey, that's going to do it for this episode of Super Mario Galaxy. Dude, Toy Time Galaxy, I just got to say this. I know we said jack all about the actual galaxy itself. Toy Time Galaxy is one of my absolute favorite galaxies in this game. I just got to say that. That first Mecha Bowser fight, it weirdly feels like a callback to, what is it? Megaleg from the boss of the Terrace Dome. It feels like a callback to that in a weird way, and it's really, really nice. It's really, really nice. I really enjoy it. So I'm excited to pick back up Toy Time Galaxy in the next episode. And yeah, hey, look, first episode where we're making proper progress again. But fellas, that's going to do it for this episode of Super Mario Galaxy. Fellas. If you enjoyed this video, maybe like, comment, subscribe. I don't know, it's your life. Do what you want. I don't really care. Oh, God. And I will see you fellas in the next video. Bye-bye, guys.